Yes guys, welcome back to the TIFC YouTube channel. I'm Coach Indy, you're watching another episode of the Premier League Appetiser show. Now I know I've gone MIA the last 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks or so, but I am back now. There'll be regular content coming out every 3 to 4 days. So please hit the subscribe button right now if you want to see more of our content. On today's episode, we're talking about January transfer window. There's been loads of deals that have happened already. There's deals going to be happening in the next 3 to 4 days because everyone's going to be panicking. There's new managers that have come in, they want their own players, which we'll discuss a bit further in a little while. They want to get them deals done. There's teams at the bottom of the league who need bodies in to try and obviously prevent themselves getting relegated, and likewise at the top of the league, people will be fighting for trophies and Champions League and European position, should I say. So, what else have we got on today's episode? We've got other news as well. There's loads of other news which we'll be talking about. We're talking about Indy versus the rest of the world, which was a bit of a disaster this time round, but we'll still discuss it and we'll still talk about it. We'll review game week 20 as well, and then we'll also look ahead at game week 21 fixtures. So we'll start off with other news. There's loads to talk about, guys, so just bear with me. First thing to talk about is Frank Lampard has been sacked at Chelsea. Some people will say it's a bit of a shock. Some people will say it's how Chelsea are run. I agree with both them statements. Me personally, my view on it is I felt a bit sorry for Frank Lampard. I feel like he needed more time. He was only 18 months into his project. Bearing in mind the circumstances he had at the beginning of last season where he had a transfer ban. He sold Eden Hazard, his best player, as well. Lots of things going on. He's given a lot of the younger players opportunities as well. So for me, the new players have let him down a little bit, but not just the new players. They've obviously had to try and settle as well during a period where there's been a pandemic, which can't be easy for the players and their families, etc. So maybe that's played a part. However, new managers come in. Thomas Tuchel, ex-PSG and Borussia Dortmund manager, he signed a 2.5-year deal at Chelsea. So, like I was touched on earlier about the January transfer window, he will probably want to try and bring in possibly a body or two, given there's only a few days left of the transfer window. But equally, he might think he's actually got a good enough squad there to fight and get into the European positions where they probably expect to be. So that's happened. The Premier League initially had voted for the concussion subs, so 2 extra substitutes for concussion throughout a game, but there was no time frame put on that. However, the last hour or so, the news has broke on the Premier League website. As of the 6th of February, the Premier League clubs and a couple of other leagues as well, so I think the WSL, FA Cup, those kind of competitions, are also allowed to use the concussion substitution. So you're allowed 2 extra subs basically. So you're allowed your 3 initially, 2 other extra ones if required for other concussion or suspected delayed concussion, all them kind of things. If you're diagnosed with concussion or possible concussion in the later in the game, you're allowed to sort of make that substitution, which is really, really good news. It's a smart decision from the Premier League. I don't think there's a lose-lose situation here. It's definitely a win-win situation for everybody. So that's happened. That's really good news as of the 6th of February, guys, so in a week's time or so. I think the first game of the Premier League will be Everton versus Aston Villa, I believe. So let's hope I hope it doesn't get used too often, because obviously it means the players potentially could be, with a head injury. You never know what could happen with a head injury, but it's there and it's an option for teams to use now. What else are we talking about? Aubameyang's been missing obviously the last 2, 3, 4 games for Arsenal. His mother has been ill. We don't know what the illness is, but obviously it must be quite serious as he's missed the last, like I said, 3, 4 games. He did take to social media after maybe the 3rd game he missed to say that his mother was ill. Prior to that, Arsenal and Arteta had just said he was missing due to personal reasons. So maybe he felt like he needed to come out and say something so the fans knew exactly what was going on. Some terrible news, guys. Martial and Twin Zabi both suffered racial abuse through social media after their defeat against Sheffield United 2 nights ago. Really, really disappointing to hear about that. It's something we've spoke about in the past in previous episodes, where There needs to be a bigger punishment for these people. These people that are on social media, these keyboard warriors, need to be outed. There need to be severe punishments for these people. It really is disgusting to hear, and especially for a young person. It's not nice for anybody. I've suffered it in my life, and it's horrible. But especially for a younger person who's, they're just finding themselves in life really. It must be difficult to take. So that's it. The sort of the headlines of the last 24 hours or so, and I'm glad people like Ray Fannin in the punditry world and others like Odegaard and Solskjaer's come out today and defended and said how horrific the incident is, and it should be publicised more, and I'm glad I'm talking about it, and hopefully I'm spreading the word as well, that these people need to be really severe punishment. That's what they need, and they need to be outed to the public. Unfortunately, we're talking about some other sort of negative news as well, guys, but it's the news, so it's going to sort of make the headlines. A couple of injuries from last night's game in the Premier League, which was obviously Spurs versus Liverpool. Harry Kane has injured both of his ankles. I think the first one was for a challenge from Thiago. Apparently, according to Mourinho, granted he's not a doctor, the first challenge wasn't so bad, but it was enough to cause him pain. And then the second one was more of a landing on the other ankle, and that seems to be the one that sort of has the most pain, if you like. So either way, both ankles, it's not in a good way. He could be missing for a few weeks. However, you never know with Mourinho. He could be playing mind games. He could be back for the next game. However, I don't think that would happen, because if that was the case, he probably would have played the rest of the game yesterday. John Matip has picked up ankle ligament injury throughout the game yesterday in the first half. He was a substitute at half time. So it's another injury blow for Liverpool in the defensive department. He is made of, insert whatever you want to put in there, but it's a negative. I can think of a lot of explicit say, guys. For Liverpool's defensive injuries and centre back in particular, that's not great, given the fact that Fabinho picked up a muscle injury as well. So they're literally down to two youngsters, and Henderson's having to do a job there at the moment. So struggling in that sense. And that concludes sort of the other news, guys. So there's a lot to sort of to be spoken about there. Going to move on to the January transfer window. So just going to reel through a few deals that have happened, whether they be permanent loans, etc. And then we'll talk about the transfers out as well. So transfers in so far: Matt Ryan and Martin Odegaard have both joined Arsenal on loan until the end of the season. I think that's some good business for both players actually, and for Arsenal Football Club as well. Adds to the competition in those areas. Snodgrass has gone on loan from West Ham to West Brom, which is, Snodgrass would have been he's obviously brilliant in the changing room and stuff in terms of like the banter and stuff like that. You always hear great stories about Snodgrass. He's been brilliant around West Ham, but beyond that, he's obviously got football ability as well, in particular his set piece ability. I'm sure the way Sam Allardyce wants to play, set piece is going to be a big thing if they're going to avoid relegation. So that's why he's probably been brought in. A lad called Jean-Philippe Mathieu has gone on loan to Palace. I believe he's a midfielder. Don't know too much about him, guys. Actually, just leave it in the comments, guys. Where does this player play? I think he's a midfielder. Is he an attacking midfielder, defensive midfielder? Is he a wide midfielder? I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Amad Diallo has now officially joined United. They agreed a deal in the summer window, but he couldn't join because of work permit, but he has now joined the club, so that's another player that's joined United. Willian Jose has joined Wolves on loan to the end of the season. Obviously, we spoke about Raul Jimenez last time round. There's no time scale on when he's going to be back, although there is signs and talk that he could be back this season, which is really, really promising. And then finally, Morgan Sanson has joined on a 16 million deal. He's gone to Aston Villa. He's also a centre midfielder. He's come from the French league. So Conor Hourihane, who was Aston Villa, has left, so that's probably where a position has now become available, or a position in the squad, should we say. So it leads on quite nicely to the transfers out. So again, we'll start with Arsenal because there's been quite a few. Kolasinac has gone out on loan to a club in Germany. Saliba's gone out on loan. Matt Macy's gone out on loan. So that's 3 players at Arsenal. Socrates has been released at Arsenal. It's a 4th player, and then Mesut Ozil has been, the club and himself have mutually agreed to terminate the contract. So there's 5 departures at Arsenal to and then 3 or 2 coming in, if you like. So it does sort of balance the books, if you like, a little bit, especially given the Ozil situation with his wages. Everyone's sort of documented about how much he sort of earns. Touched on Hurhan already. Matty James has gone on loan. Soleimani has gone on a permanent. I think he's gone to Lyon. Fosse Mensah has left United on a permanent deal. Has gone to Germany. I think it's by Leverkusen. Charlie Austin has gone on loan to QPR. Haller has signed a permanent deal at Ajax. I think that's a really good deal for every party, actually. And he's actually done really well, because since he's joined, he's scored a few goals and got a few assists already, so fair play to him. And then also Vinagre, the left wing back / left back at Wolves, has also gone on loan. So they're the deals that have happened so far, guys. And we'll have obviously another update in the next Premier League Appetiser show when the window will be shut, so we'll have all the details of all the deals that happened sort of last minute. Just going to move on to Indy versus the rest of the world. We haven't done this for a little while, so I'll just give you a little recap of the score situation. Let me just get that up. So, heading into the last round of fixtures, which was obviously game week 20. Let me just get the scores up, 1 second. So, the rest of the world were on 112 points, which is decent after sort of 12 weeks. And I was on 127. So, there's a 15-point sort of lead for myself there. I've turned it around the last 2 to 3 weeks. I was losing for about 5-6 weeks in a row, so it can quite easily flip again, guys. So that was the score going into game week 20, and then this week I was playing against sort of a long distance cousin. His name's Sumit. Got in contact with him, sort of reached out to him. His predictions are as follows. So he went for Palace West Ham to draw 1-1. Obviously West Ham won that 3-2, so 0 points. He went for Newcastle to beat Leeds 1-0. Leeds won that 2-1, again 0 points. Southampton against Arsenal. He is an Arsenal fan, by the way, guys, so he actually thought Southampton would win this 2-1. I did a bit of banter about it, because he felt like Southampton was our Arsenal's sort of bogey team. However, Arsenal obviously won that game 3-1, I think it was. So 0 points there. West Brom versus Man City. He went for a 3-0 Man City win. So he picks up 2 points. He's off the mark. Burnley versus Villa. He went for a Villa to win 2-1. And they were winning 2-1 at one point. However, they lost 3-2, so 0 points. Chelsea versus Wolves. He went for a Chelsea to win 2-0. Finished 0-0, so again 0 points. Brighton versus Fulham. He's gone for a away win for Fulham to win 2-0. He's finished again 0-0. Everton versus Leicester, he went for a 1-1 and the game finished 1-1, so he's picked up a nice little 5-pointer there. That moves him on to 7. Last couple of games he's gone for Man United to beat Sheffield United 2-0, and obviously United lost 2-1, which is disappointing as a United fan, so 0 points for himself. And then he went for Spurs to beat Liverpool 3-2, and everyone knows what that result was. Liverpool won 3-1. So he's picked up 7 points, which is decent. And then moving on to myself, I wouldn't say it's decent, it's okay, so it's probably below average actually. And myself, so I actually didn't get any predictions in for the Tuesday game, so unfortunately I was unable to put any results in. So for Palace, West Ham, Newcastle, Leeds, Southampton, Arsenal, West Brom, Man City, I have got 0 points for all of them, so really disappointing for myself not to get those in. However, I have got some predictions. We'll move on to those. So Burnley versus Villa, I went for a Villa win 2-1. Again, finished 3-2 to Burnley, so 0 points. I've gone for Chelsea to beat Wolves 3-1. Again, finished 0-0, 0 points. Went for Brighton to beat Fulham 2-1. Again, finished 0-0, so still on 0 points here, guys, after 7 games. It's not great. Everton versus Leicester, I did go for a 1-1 in this game, so I picked up 5 points, which is really, really pleasing. Man United versus Sheffield United, I'm obviously going to go for United win, given I'm a fan, and also they were in fantastic form, and still are, to be fair. I went for 3-0, and obviously they lost 2-1. And then I also went for Spurs to beat Liverpool 2-1, so I picked up 0 there as well. So the scores on the doors aren't very high this week. In fact, I've only picked up 5 points, and Sumit picked up 7. So rest of the world have clawed 2 back. So that leads nicely to the grand total, which is Indy 132 and rest of the world 119. So that leaves, if my maths is correct, 13-point difference. Obviously, loads can happen, guys. There's loads of weeks remaining in the rest of the season. So that's Indy versus the rest of the world. We move on to Game Week 20 results. Where are we? We are here. There we go. Okay, so we'll just rewind back to Tuesday. So the first game, talk about Crystal Palace versus West Ham, finished 3-2. Soucek with a brace. Actually, Palace scored first. Zaha scored, didn't he? Zaha scored, and there was a late goal as well. Can't remember who scored that goal, but a very good win for West Ham nonetheless. 3-2. I think they well deserved it as well. It was a cracking game actually. I thought this would be a low scoring game, but that just keeps that momentum going for West Ham and David Moyes, and especially for David Moyes, there's more and more sort of talk, and you hear rumblings about possibly a contract extension or a long-term contract being signed there. So that's really, really good for West Ham. Dawson was the other lad who scored for West Ham. Newcastle versus Leeds is finished 2-1 to Leeds, a good away win for them. Raphinha on the score sheet for them, and that obviously was the decisive goal as well. So that sort of stops their rot, if you like, in terms of results in all competitions. They were in a bit of a slump for the last sort of 4 or 5 games, but they've, like I said, they've sort of stopped that. Southampton versus Arsenal finished 3-1 to Arsenal. Lacazette, Saka scoring the goals. Pepe was in today, started that game and he scored a goal as well. Obviously Aubameyang was missing, so there was a position available. Interestingly, he played on the left, which was quite surprising. Traditionally he plays on the right, likes to sort of cut in and gets his shots away, sort of looking for that far post, if you like, for Kel's strike. A disappointing result for Southampton. They had quite a few players missing. Bremeya's missing in midfield, he's instrumental along with Ward-Prowse. Both fullbacks were missing as well. You've still got Vestergaard is missing as well. So there's quite a few players missing for Southampton. However, the points they've accumulated throughout the beginning of the part of the season, if they do have a few negative results in this period here, they shouldn't drop down the table too much. And then lastly on the Tuesday, West Brom versus Manchester City, finished 5-0 to Manchester City. A comprehensive win, let's just put it that way. Goals from Gundogan, I think, got a brace. Who else scored the goals? Mahrez scored. My mind's gone blank, guys. Let me know in the comments who else scored the Man City goals. I know Gundogan got 2, Mahrez got a goal, Cancelo got a goal, actually a dubious goal, and there was obviously another goal as well. But the signs are really ominous for Manchester City at the moment. I don't think they've hardly conceded a goal in the last 10 game weeks really. So. And now obviously they're top of the league with the game in hand as well. So looking really, really good, despite Kevin De Bruyne being injured as well. So missing sort of another 4 weeks or so. Moving on to Wednesday then, Burnley versus Aston Villa. Did not expect this to be a high scoring game. Certainly not for Burnley's end anyway, because they struggled to score goals. However, to score 3 goals, Dwight McNeil scored it's a weird sort of, more of a cross, but found the bottom corner somehow and just evaded everybody. Chris Wood actually scoring the vital goal, the most important goal, the 5th goal of the game, especially after going 2-1 down as well. Watkins scoring, Grealish scoring for Villa. A good important win for Villa actually, for Burnley, just to push them a bit further from the relegation zone. It actually takes them above Newcastle in the league as well, so that just puts added pressure to Newcastle given the fact they lost to Leeds as well. Chelsea versus Wolves, obviously this was Thomas Tuchel's first game in charge. It's hard to sort of judge after one game. You probably have to judge it after 4, 5, 6, 7 games to sort of give it a real sort of initial judgment, if you like. From what I saw, Chelsea had a lot of possession, but Wolves do allow you to have possession. But however, they did have a lot more possession than probably many games that Frank Lampard's teams would have had against a lot of opposition. Didn't create loads. Interestingly, they did change the formation to a 1-3-4-2-1 formation. I don't know if that was because he thought Wolves would play that same formation or play a 3 at the back as well, or if that's just something he's going to go with long term. I don't know. It's probably one to sort of watch. Interesting to see Kai Havertz and Ziyech as the ones in the pockets behind Giroud. I'm sure he'll probably give a lot of different players opportunities. He obviously knows Werner from the German league. He knows Pulisic because he's worked with him. He knows Thiago Silva because he's worked with him. So there's lots of sort of things that we don't know just yet with Chelsea. However, only time will tell what will happen there in terms of personnel formation, that kind of thing. Moving on to Brighton versus Fulham, another 0-0. I didn't actually see any of this game, so I can't comment about it too much. I know Fulham had a chance cleared off the line, which had been, and I've seen Scott Parker's reaction to it, very, very frustrated and devastated by it because it was a really, really good opportunity and probably should have scored. However, I have seen some of the statistics, and a lot of statistics point to Brighton being the dominant team or having the bulk of the chances. So that's all I can really comment about that game. So all I can say is obviously both near the bottom. It was a 6-point if you like, and they both come out unscathed if you like. So that's sort of one positive for each of them if you like. Everton versus Leicester finished 1-1. James Rodriguez scored a really, really good right foot strike actually. Just shaped it, sent it outside the post, and you saw Kasper Schmeichel just go like this and then hit the post and go into the back of the net. It was a really good strike actually. Got a little bit fortunate because he actually tried to cross the ball with his left foot initially, got defended, the ball landed back to him on the edge of the box, shifted it and whipped it, and it was a decent strike to be fair. And then Tielemans scored an equaliser, I would say a fortuitous equaliser. Bit of a howler from Jordan Pickford. Very comfortable save in my eyes. It should have been. Some might say he was onside. I'm not having that. I think it was just a poor save, or poor attempted save, should I say. And both teams, again, they're fighting for them Champions League position, so unscathed if you like. No one's lost ground on the other if you like. And then obviously probably the shock of the season, Man United versus Sheffield United. Going into the game week, it was first versus 20th. However, going into this game after City won the game before, the night before should I say, it was second versus 20th. And United played absolutely awful. Obviously I'm a United fan, so I watched the game, and I don't think anyone come out with any sort of credit. Probably the players on the bench probably come out the most credit, the likes of Luke Shaw, who did come on for about 10 minutes, McTominay, Fred, those types of players probably come out with the most credit because when you don't play, sometimes they're the best games you can play because, like I said, your stock can rise, and if the team or your teammates or your competitors, don't play very well, then, like I said, it can be perceived as having a good game but not playing, if that makes sense. But fair play to Sheffield United, they did play well. They caused some panicky moments for United, which shouldn't have done really, but they won the game, and that claws them a bit closer to 19th in the league. I think that's 2 wins in 3 games for them, or 4 games. So maybe there's a bit of a corner turning for them, and they do need to turn a big corner because they need to pick up a large chunk of points throughout the second half of the season. Then moving on to the last game, which was Spurs versus Liverpool. This game finished 3-1 to Liverpool. There was injuries, there was goals disallowed, there was VAR, there was horrendous weather in terms of the rain absolutely coming down, guys. It was a very a heavy pitch, if you like, on the players. So I think Fabinho was injured before the game in the build-up, sort of the days before, picked up a muscle injury, so he was out. Henderson went into the back 4 along with Matip. Matip picked up an ankle ligament damage, should I say, throughout the first half. That's what Klopp's sort of saying. So he's going to be out for a period of time. You had Son, who had a goal disallowed after about 3 minutes for offside. Very, very marginal, but nevertheless was offside. That happened. Salah had a goal disallowed for offside as well. Again, VAR intervened there. Harry Kane picked up injury, we touched on it earlier, both ankles. We don't know the severity of those injuries just yet, but it doesn't seem great. Probably out for 2 to 3 weeks, I would suggest. And then obviously you had the goals, so Mane picked up a goal and 2 assists. Trent scored his first goal of the season. Højbjerg probably scored the pick of the goals from the edge of the box, cut across the ball quite nicely, moving away from the goalkeeper. And Bobby Firmino scored in the stroke at half time. That was probably the key moment of the first half, or probably of the game actually, because Liverpool did have the bulk of the first half and created the bulk of the chances. Some weren't brilliant chances, but they did create the chances. And if Spurs held on until half time, and it was 0-0, Mourinho can get into them a bit more and maybe change and tweak the game plan. However, scoring that in the sort of stoppage time in the first half forced Spurs to sort of come out a bit more and be a bit more expansive, which obviously played into Liverpool's hands a bit more. So they were game week 20 results, guys. We're going to move on to game week 21 fixtures and just have a look at those. Just give me 1 second. There we go. So kicking off game week 21, we've got Everton versus Newcastle. Early kick-off on the Saturday, 12:30 kick-off. I fully expect this to be a big Everton win, maybe 3-4, maybe 1, or maybe even 0, just because Everton are in a good sort of vein of form, if you like. They're getting a lot of their players back. DCL's been back the last couple of games for Richarlison, James, Luca Dean. I think they're only really missing is Allen really at the moment. And then obviously Newcastle in dire straits. I'm actually really shocked at this stage that Steve Bruce is still in his job. I thought he would get sacked after the last game, and it probably happened quite immediately. Hasn't happened. So, I mean, it still might happen before, in the next sort of 12 hours or so. Excuse me. However, I expect a good win for Everton here. Crystal Palace versus Wolves. I expect this to be a low-scoring game, actually. However, this is a COVID year, so you never know. Both teams might actually go for it and think to themselves, "We've got nothing to lose. Probably not going to get relegated. We're probably not going to get European position. Let's just try and play a bit more expensive." And to be fair to Palace, they have played like that this season. And to be fair to Wolves, they've tried to play like that. And they've changed the formation, for example. Rather than playing 3 at the back, they played 4, which means they've got another advanced player higher up the pitch, but it has left them more exposed defensively. So that will be interesting to see. You've obviously got lots of quick players playing as well. You've got Traore, Zaha, Eze, these types of players, tricky types of players as well. So it could be an end-to-end game. Manchester City versus Sheffield United. So now you have got first versus 20th. I fully expect this to be an absolute smashing for Man City. I know Sheffield United haven't really lost heavily this season. I think they've lost Chelsea maybe 4-0 earlier in the season. Every other game has been really, really close, but I do expect Man City to just keep ramping it up, putting the pressure on every other team that's chasing them and dispatch them, so maybe another 3, 4, 5 goals for them. West Brom versus Fulham, the 6-pointer of the weekend. I think this is a must-win game for West Brom, given the fact they're at home as well. They're looking to try and bring 1 or 2 bodies in. Whether they get them over the line over the next 12 hours or so, I don't know, to try and make them play for this weekend, this game. I doubt it. And obviously you've got Fulham, the likes of Lookman and Cavallero and Loftus-Cheek, those sorts of players who can play on the counter-attack, could actually hurt West Brom. So yeah, it'd be quite an interesting game, that one, actually, to see who comes out on the right end of it. I suspect if Fulham win, that could be the end of West Brom already, and it's only sort of 20 games in, but there's such a points difference. It could be sort of 10 points already, and that's just to get to the 18th in the league as opposed to 17th where they actually need to get to. So it'll be an interesting game to see how that plans out. However, it is obviously Sam Allardyce's experience versus Scott Parker, who's relatively new to managerial, or to management, should I say. So that'll be another interesting facet to the game. Moving on to the later game on the Saturday, Arsenal versus Manchester United. That's probably the headline fixture, if you like, in terms of reputation of both clubs. Obviously Arsenal are in terrific form at the moment, and United, obviously the last game losing to Sheffield, don't want to be losing back-to-back games. However, this could be quite easily a back-to-back defeat. But I do expect a response from United. Whether we pick up a W, I don't know. Traditionally it's been quite a high place for United to go and pick up a result. I think it's going to be quite a good game, an entertaining game as well. You can see it being end-to-end. Southampton versus Aston Villa. This game, the reverse fixture of this earlier in the season, finished 4-3 to Southampton, actually. They were 4-1 up, I think, away from home, and they conceded a couple of late goals. Ordinarily, I'd probably say Southampton probably slight edge because they're at home. However, because they've got so many injuries at the moment, I don't know if any of those are going to be back for this game at the weekend. And Villa picked up back-to-back wins, and they're obviously pushing to get into them European spots with their games in hand as well. I expect Villa to probably maybe sneak this game, maybe a 2-1 or something like that. Moving on to Sunday, Chelsea versus Burnley. I fully expect Chelsea to come out and really make sure they pick up a W. They don't really have back-to-back home games under a new manager and not pick up any dubs. Obviously, Burnley in terrific form at the moment, beat Villa and Liverpool in their last 2 games, so it won't be an easy game. It won't be, a 3-4 for Chelsea. I can imagine it being a very, very tight game. Moving on to Leicester versus Leeds then. This game here has got the potential to just be a massive counter-attack basketball type game, because Leeds will just only play one way, and Leicester have got players to hurt you on the counter-attack with Barnes and Maddison and Albrighton and these types of players who are devastating on the counter-attack as well. So I'm actually expecting this to be a high-scoring game, but I expect Leicester to come out on top. Maybe something like a 4-2. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I think there'd be loads of goals in this game. West Ham versus Liverpool. Now, if Liverpool lost yesterday, I would say West Ham are favourites for this game, given the fact that the form that West Ham are in and then the form that Liverpool would have been in. And Liverpool hadn't scored for, I think it was they hadn't scored the elite goal in 2021 before yesterday. So their form, if they hadn't won yesterday, would have been obviously not as good as picking up a dub. So I'll probably put Liverpool slight favourites because of that, because they'll probably gain huge confidence from that dub. But it'll be a tough game. I can see it being a very, especially given the fact that Liverpool obviously haven't got any defenders, or centre back should I say, in lots of Antonio and Souček and Benrahma. They can of course havoc. So I can expect this to be a quite high scoring game as well. I'm going to get something like 3-2 to Liverpool. Honestly, I think it could be like that as well. And then Brighton versus Spurs. Obviously, we expect Harry Kane not to be playing. Does that affect Son? It probably does. But in the past, when Kane's been missing, Son has actually stepped up and done really well, and he has moved into a more central position. However, a lot of Son's opportunities this season, have come from Harry Kane, from his creation, from a deeper position. So does that make him a bit of a non-asset in terms of FPL, or a bit of a non-player? I don't know. I don't know if Mourinho would fancy him to play up front. Would he go with a false 9 maybe? Does he keep Son in his wide position? Does he bring Vinicius in and try and keep the same system and hope Vinicius can do a similar type job to Kane? And obviously then you've got Brighton, who 2 home games in a week. They're probably they would have hoped to pick up a W against Fulham and then maybe a point here. But they obviously they play a nice sort of brand of football. I always like watching Graham Potter's teams. They always play a nice sort of progressive type of football. However, they have got a mistake or a stupid moment in them which could cost them 3 points. So I think this will be a tight game. Maybe Spurs winning this, maybe 1-0. So okay guys, that actually concludes another episode of the Premier League Appetiser show. Really good to be back. Like I said, there's going to be episodes coming out every 3 or 4 days, so make sure you subscribe to the channel right now guys. Just do it right now, literally just bang, do it. It's done. You're going to get a subscription, a notification come through, and job done. Leave a comment, leave a like as well, and yeah, we'll see everyone in a few days time.